Welcome back, Dawn of War 2 fans. Today we've got a 1v1 on Greentooth Gorge, featuring the appropriately green orcs of GuruSkippy, specifically the commander knob, so he's going to be doing some sneaky shenanigans, running straight past his natural wreck point towards the natural power point of Deimos, who is going to be rocking the apothecary here of the Space Marines. I love this matchup. Space Marines versus orcs is really cool, because the Space Marines can get pretty out of hand if they out-level their opponents. However, early game, Space Marines are very vulnerable. Now we'll see what the commander knob is going to do here. This is a really suboptimal opening for Guru. You always want your commando knob to find the scouts, because you just bleed them instantly. Like first volley, you can bleed one of the scout models and they're under huge pressure. And you just force melee on the scouts because the commando knob does really good melee damage and it does 100% fire on the move. But as you can see, Guru has not found himself in that position here. On the contrary, he's found the Apo and the Tax, which is really unlucky. And I actually really like how Deimos has played this. He knows that the commando knob is likely lurking over here to get the scouts. He fires that initial burst and then one more shot would have killed this scout model. But Deimos throws down the heal and the Apo's there to get rid of the commander knob. So all this pressure from the K knob has been for naught and he's forced off immediately. That's awful. It's very, very rare that you should open up with K knob and not snag a scout, or at the very least force the scouts off and delay their caps, and Guru didn't achieve that there. Now the other thing that I really like about Deimos' play here is he's blobbing his Tax and his Apo together. So normally you would counter the Tax in the other game using sluggers, because Tax in green cover, they can just beat default shooters all day, right? So you use sluggers, but if the sluggers try to deal with Tax plus the Apo, they will get wrecked even in melee because of the special attacks of the Apo and because of the heal. So I really like this play from Deimos. However, he has now left himself vulnerable to a bit of a gem bash. Nice little nade spike actually. Wow! That killed a lot more than I thought it was gonna. Jeez, I feel like they'd ran past that. And these poor slugger boys are just contemplating their life, just thinking, wow, that could have been us, guys. Like, we were there a second ago, and now look at the state of my boys. Oh well. And I think the rest of the shooter boys have shit themselves as well. Well, you know, Apo flanked them there. There wasn't really too much they could have done. I suppose this far shooter could have ran off and took the garrison to do a bit of delaying, but the thing is, he hadn't actually caught that VP. He might have done that play if he already owned the VP, so then he can shoot the Apo while he caps it. But there's not a whole lot of point doing that otherwise, I guess. The shooters would have just been out of position and maybe they would have took a scout out of position, and that would not be worth it. But here we go, we see some fast Storm Boys coming out. Pretty typical for this matchup. Now, the ASM are going to come out to counter the Storm Boys, and I mean counter everything really. The ASM plus Purification Rites and the Apo is going to be pretty hard to deal with in Tier 1, but that's where the Tier 2 comes in for Guru, where he gets a bit of an advantage once he gets his knobs on the field. His knob leaders, that is, not the knob squad obviously. Big shooters are coming out. Now, the other thing that I want to discuss is Guru's playing the commando knob, and whilst it puts on pressure onto the scouts in the early game, it presents a problem because the commando knob can't support Storm Boys or Sluggers in Tier 1, unlike the War Boss or the Mech Boy. So the Mech Boy can get Battery Pack heal. Really nice for your Storm Boys. Not only does it give an on-demand heal that you can use from miles away because you teleport in, then you heal, also gives them more energy so they can start doing double jumps and getting retreat wipes. And then the War Boss, on the other hand, the War Boss can use the Bang Bang Hammer to counter-initiate melee and make Storm Boys go insane. He can get the Custom Shooter to stun the Apo to cancel his ability to heal, because a really well-timed heal from the Apothecary with Purification Rites could be the wipe of your melee squads. So you can stun the Apo before you take those engagements if you're the War Boss, and that can be pretty huge. And of course the War Boss has his Add Boys and Use Your Chopper globals as well, which make the melee squads dominate the ASM. So there's a lot of tools that the War Boss can use, and there's a couple of tools that the Mech Boy can use. The K-Knob doesn't have anything like that. He does have the knife that he could get, and he could use Tripper Shot on the knife to stun the Apo. And honestly, if you're going to be taking a lot of pitched melee fights and Guru doesn't opt for like a Pain Boy to support his melee, then I think the knife would actually be a good idea. The problem is that you're then going to have to use the commando knob in the main fights. because the Commander Nob with a knife will get his ass kicked by shotgun scouts constantly. Whereas, as you can see, a custom shooter commando, very, very good against scouts. So it presents a problem because then you have to put your shooters capping and then you only have one shooter in the main fight. But I think it can be worth it. You might want to consider whether it's worth doing that on this map though, because this is Greentooth Gorge and there's a load of garrisons. So if you don't have enough ranged units, you might have a bit of trouble. Here's another attempt for a grenade. Okay, that was a lot less effective. Nice little split there from the shooters from Guru. Now it looks like Guru's going to be going tier 2 fast here because he's not purchasing anything else. I was literally just about to say, if he wants fast tier 2, he's floating wreck, so he should build a power node, and he did. So if he had this power point as well, he should be building the power node here, because you can see that he's clearly going to have the 125 extra wreck above 300 before he's going to have 125 power. And there's maybe he wants like any more upgrades like shooter knobs, but you know, clearly he doesn't, because if he did, he would already be buying them, right? He's got his burners, he's got his big shooters, he doesn't have any war gear, he wants that fast tier 2 and probably wants to get a Death Dread so that he can then rush the power farm and take it out, because he knows that Deimos has spent loads in tier 1 here. Deimos has spent the, is it 25 or 20 at the moment for purification rights? Well, this music's kind of wild. Just got a bit of a pop playlist on today. So he spent like, let's say it's 25, I think it's 25. And then we've got a sergeant here, so we're at 50 already. Then we've got a sergeant and we've got shotguns, so now we're at 90, and then we've got 135 here with the ASM. So yeah, Guru has spent way less power than Deimos, and he knows that. So he wants to quickly get to tier 2, get a Death Dread out, burn Deimos' power farm down, and then presumably he's going to be in a great spot, because by the time Deimos can field a tier 2 vehicle, well, Guru's going to have a Weird Boy out, he's going to have tank busters, and he's going to have upgrades on all of his units, and Deimos isn't. And to be honest, right now, it's a bit of a fail on Deimos' behalf, because in spite of spending all that extra power, he's actually losing the tier 1 fights. We can see this on the map control, and we can see this right now with GuruSkippy gen bashing Deimos, even though GuruSkippy spent significantly less in tier 1. Guru has spent 20 on burners, 40, 60 in total, versus the, what did I say, the SM spent 135. This is a very poor engagement from Deimos. This should not be happening. I mean, he must have severely mispositioned his ASM there. There should be no instance. I mean, he lost all 3 gens. That's kind of huge. Now, Commando Nob hasn't really been as effective as he should be. Once again, the Commando Nob found himself engaging Tactical Marines, which he doesn't want to do because he can't bleed the Tacs. He can't. They're too tanky. And the Tacs actually beat him in melee as well as ranged. So it's just an awful engagement. But it doesn't really matter. Man, Guru is so far ahead in tech, it is insane. I mean, I don't know why Guru's not going for a Death Dread. I think maybe Guru worries that he's behind a bit more than he is, so he's opting to get all of his knobs now. And yes, the knobs are going to be very effective in combat, but they're not going to easily get a Gem Bash. I mean, I guess he already got the Gem Bash. Maybe that's why he doesn't go for the Death Dread. But he should know that he's quite far ahead in tech. Oh my god, there's lots of knobs to lead the boys. All I'm hearing is, we got a knob to lead you boys. So right now, obviously, Deimos has no chance of beating all these orcs in straight up combat. Even with these sergeants on the Space Marine squads, they're not going to beat orc knobs. He needs some really powerful combined arms, and he definitely doesn't have that. Now we've just got a quadruple War. So the damage coming out here is immense. Fortunately, those scouts are kind of in cover. Well, they were. But yeah. Wise of Deimos just to retreat completely out of that. I mean, that's just... that is terrifying. They're already out-tiering you. They've got their very scary knob leaders, and they've all used War, so that all of them have got a really big stacking damage buff. And once again, the orcs are knocking on the door of Deimos' gen farm. Now, the only difference here is that Deimos has actually gained a little bit more map control, but Commander Nob's working on it. He's at it again. The Commander Nob's actually got Kaboom, which is quite an interesting choice, to be honest. I don't really know why Guru has decided to get that of all things as his first upgrade. I mean, Kaboom's never bad, you know, but it's I say always better against races like Tyranids or IG with lots of models. 100 explosive damage. Yeah, I mean 100 explosive damage and knocking enemies away is nice, but you know, ASM have got 1600 HP, so 100 damage per model, it's alright, but it's not going to wipe squads, you know what I mean? I'd have rather have got like the grappling hook for mobility, or the other armor just to get more energy, but no, not what Guru's doing here. I feel like Guru is kind of letting Deimos back into the game here. Like that engagement was really bad, just overextending unnecessarily. He only needed his shooters really to be doing the gem bash, and the sluggers and the stormboys should have been elsewhere, putting pressure on the map like the sluggers are doing here. But the ability to allow Deimos to come back and even destroy a gen there is kind of ridiculous. The stormboys needn't have retreated, I don't think. On the other hand, I think that Deimos got a bit optimistic to move in there and try and get a gem bash when you know that your forces are so inferior. A bit silly in my opinion. Commander Nob did a really good job there harassing the eco, actually managing to fully cap both of these. I would be noding this if I was Guru. He's floating node as a wreck again, and he knows that Deimos really needs the power, so he should have noded that. Nice. Aiming what's that with the shooters to suppress the ASM, so then he can land on them with the Stormboys and get an easy stun. And that makes the ASM have to retreat. However, there's now a Razorback on the field putting on pressure, and at the moment Guru has no AV. Guru's economy is kind of insane though. I mean, he's getting tank busters and he could nearly go tier 3, he's just lacking a little bit of power. I don't think he should go tier 3 though. I'd like to see a bit more pressure coming out from Guru, because he's getting pushed back here in instances even when he has better troops on paper. So I feel like that indicates he needs more stuff in tier 2. Maybe a Painboy would be a nice purchase. You know, get your sluggers back out, have a little bit more of a force multiplier, and it's a low upkeep force multiplier. You know, Painboy doesn't bleed, Painboy's low in pop, so you're not paying a lot of upkeep on him. Yeah, Guru could go tier 3 now if he wanted to. Would be quite risky because obviously he's on the AV right now with tank busters, and tank busters are fine, but in theory the ASM jump on the tank busters and then all you have is your Stormboy Nob. And if the Razorback is microed correctly, the Stormboy Nob is not going to get more than one hit on the Razor. So you see the Stormboy Nob gets one heavy melee headbutt there. Oh, but we've got Hide the Boys on the tank busters, and somehow the ASM let it slip. Where are the ASM? Yeah, they're in melee with the Shooter Boys. He's not realised that Hide the Boys is on the tank busters. Oh my god, one of the tank busters shot the Apo. What a fool. Well, what can you expect from Orc Boys, eh? What can you expect? So the Razorback actually survives. Honestly, that was a nice little play there from Guru with the Hide the Boys, managing to get those tank busters out of that engagement and away from the ASM. Very sneaky. Here comes Kaboom. Boom. Perfect positioning there. Knocks the Commander Nob in the correct direction, but you can see, you know, against Space Marines, it's just not, it's not got that oomph that you expect. It's alright, but then there's also an Apo, so they can just heal that off, to be honest. It's not great. I would not have gone for Kaboom as my choice. But, yeah, I don't know. I think even just stick bombs are better, just to nade spike when something tries to tie you up in melee. Also, the stick bombs gives you extra coverage for anti-garrison. IED is not great when you've got double Sergeant Scouts running around. I don't know, I guess it gets the K-Nob out of melee, so that's nice. But the grappling hook could also do that. I'd rather go for the grappling hook. Bit of a missed micro from Deimos there. It took a long time to actually retreat his tax, and now they're going to need to take some heals, so they're going to be in base for ages. Would have actually gone over and healed him there. I think a bit of a mistake. Kind of surprised not to see any Stern Guard. Wow, that was a really brave jump from the ASM. They do have the energy for the Merciless Strike. Obviously, there is the Purification Rites heal, so they can put a bit of work onto the Stormboys. But nice focus from Guru. He targets the Apo with priority. However, good little Merciless Strike actually from the ASM, knocking over the Stormboys there. I didn't actually realise, but Guru has taken this time to start going tier 3. Well, not start going tier 3, he's already in tier 3. He's getting his looted tank out now. Deimos has managed to hold on for long enough to get a Dreadnought out. You know, it really is kind of crazy to me that Deimos is ahead in VPs at this point with 271 VPs to the 148 of GuruSkippy. I think Deimos has just done a great job with the map control, and I think really Guru has dropped the ball. Poor positioning sometimes of a lot of his units. No missile launcher coming out yet for the Commander Nob, or rocket launcher. Can nearly afford it. I would expect him to get that, to be honest. No, he's getting something else. Oh, he's getting the reinforced plating for the looted tank. There's no AV on the field yet for Deimos, but obviously Space Marines can get AV very easily. Get those melter bombs, swap that flamer to a missile launcher. Even the Dreadnought can be pretty spooky to a tank. Obviously Deimos hasn't, well, they've not seen one another yet. Now the looted tank is revealed. The Dreadnought is going to be revealed in a second. Oof. Alright, the Dreadnought's walking into the tank busters. The Dreadnought is getting the multi-melter. So do we see the melter bomb? No, we don't yet. See, the multi-melter's fine, but it's not going to be able to catch the tank unless you snare it first with your melter bomb. So he needs to try and keep these ASM on the field. Where's the ASM gone? Okay, we see Angels of Death coming down. So everything is now immune to knockback and is taking less damage. Wow, look at the smoke screen on that Razorback actually keeping it alive. It needs to get some... Okay. Some repairs are going down at last. One more shot though and that smoke screen should probably be worn off. But he's scared because the Dreadnought's walking up with his melter gun. And we do see the melter bombs coming in. But you can see there the problem is... That melter gun, the multi-melter on the Dreadnought is too short range. The tank is too fast. If it's just a 1v1 instance, the tank will just drive backwards and destroy your Dreadnought. But that's why you hit it first with your melter bomb so then the tank can't flee. And you just force melee with your Dreadnought and you can easily 1v1 a tank with that. But obviously the counterplay there is to make sure that the tank is always with the tank busters so that the tank busters can shoot down the Dreadnought and contribute DPS when it goes in for the kill on the tank. So then the ASM want to take out the tank busters, so then you need your slugger boys to be guarding the tank busters in case the ASM jump them. Or your storm boys. The storm boys could also be guarding the tank busters. So ASM jump busters, storm boys jump the ASM. This is how the macro works in this instance. Beautiful rear armor hit there on the Razorback. The burst damage from the looted tank is insane. Could have another shot there, oh man, exposing the rear armor. One more shot from the looted tank would have took that out there. I'm going to get a nice shot onto the tactical marines instead though. I think Guru's a little bit fearful of what might possibly be in the back here. A lot of VPs though for Deimos to work with. In theory, you know, there's no like knobs yet or anything, so compositionally this is fine. There's no like blaster flash gates to kill the ASM attacks instantly. So all he needs to do is somehow find himself in a position where he can wipe this looted tank. And as I say, he needs to try and force off the busters. If the busters are free to fire while the Dreadnought charges the tank, the DPS is going to be too high and they're going to take out the Dreadnought before it can kill the tank. But yeah, this looks like a good engagement. The busters are isolated on their own. The tanks are already weakening them, and now the ASM can engage. But you don't want to waste your jump with the ASM, remember, because you need to use your jump to get close enough to the looted tank to get your melter bomb off, and then you force melee with your Dreadnought. But the looted tank is kind of privy to it. This is a pretty awkward engagement. The ASM are going to be on the edge, and the Dreadnought is too far away, so it's not really a good opportunity. What you kind of want to do, you want to set up a pincer. So say that the tank's here, the Dreadnought comes down here, you know the tank's going to drive back here, then the ASM jump from the side and get the melter bomb. So they get it nice and early, rather than the ASM jumping from this direction and just catching the looted tank at the end, because the looted tank could slip away. Alright, well the tanks actually used their 50% faster cap in there and actually managed to get the decap on the contested VP. Now there's a bit of a problem for Guru. He does use his boom shot to disrupt the attacks, which is nice. But he is probably feeling a lot of the VP pressure. Ooh, another Angels of Death coming in here. Here you go. Melter bomb after the jump. Very little counterplay. and the tank busters have already got popped by that multi-melter, but to be honest, the Dreadnought is pretty low. We're seeing disruption from the shotgun scouts. Is the Dreadnought actually pursuing? It is. It's running into melee with the looted tank. The looted tank is shooting the incorrect targets. It's too busy shooting at the shotgun scouts. The Dreadnought's going to finish off the tank. Boom, there it goes. It's down. But now there's knobs on the field. ASM do actually retreat in time. Wow, they only lose one model. That is quite lucky. And the scouts are going to move up and shotgun blast away these knobs if they pursue. So they're not going to. And yeah, honestly, Deimos is in a great position now because for a long time, Deimos has been able to protect his power farm, so now he's going to get a second Dreadnought, and of course this Dreadnought will stay melee, and that will be used to disrupt and control the knobs. 1v1, a melee Dreadnought can nearly beat the knobs. Nearly, not quite if they're fully upgraded, but it can. And, you know, he's took out a lot of the major threats now. Oh, this is a weird decision. I don't know why he is running the Dreadnought into melee with the knobs. That was quite a large misplay. The multi-melter's damage onto the knobs would have been great, whilst the other Dreadnought kept it disrupted. That was quite a misplay. But yeah, still, he's got level 3 attacks, which he can give a plasma gun. That will do a lot of damage to the knobs. And he's playing APO, so he can knock them over with the ASM jump. He can knock them over again with Merciless Strike. Then he can knock them over with a Shotgun Blast, then knock them over again with a Shotgun Blast, and then knock them over with a Purification Rites heal, and then knock them over with the Emperor's Fist from the Dreadnought. Meanwhile, all the time the Dreadnought can proc special attacks which will send the knobs flying. Do you see the problem here for the knobs? If it was just a Melter Dreadnought, this would be fine. Yeah. No VPs left for Guru, and he sees the melee Dreadnought, of which he has no real counter because his tank busters, they're only level 1. The ASM are still in the field, so every time those tank busters try and engage that Dreadnought, they're just going to get jumped by the ASM. And where is the melee for Guru? Well, his only melee is the knobs. But he needs to throw the knobs in there because he can't beat Deimos at ranged. And there you go. That's how you throw a big advantaged game as Orcs. And let me ask you guys, what do you think? When did that start falling apart for Guru? Because I mentioned it earlier. It all comes down to that tier 3 tech. He was struggling to maintain map control, he wasn't keeping all the gens down for Deimos, and he went tier 3. Well, that's a vital error and you're opening yourself up for counterplay. He needed to double down in tier 2, put on a bit more pressure, and really keep Deimos pinned back in his base, and only in that safe situation do you have the ability to go tier 2. Now don't get me wrong, Guru still had the advantage, and Guru threw by losing his looted tank. That was poor micro. The looted tank, when it was backing away, was shooting at scouts instead of the Dreadnought, when the Dreadnought was the optimal threat. Obviously that would require you to use the hold fire command, and it is very micro intensive. But there were a lot of positioning mistakes. Why were the tank busters capping on their own over here vulnerable? That was really bad. That could have been an instance in which the tank died even earlier. But anyway, there you go. That is the game. Nice short, snappy one for you today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. I don't care what the comment is, just leave a comment down below to help us in the eternal battle against that algorithm. Thanks for tuning in, folks. It's your boy SCD, signing out.